Well, the hooter sounds here, and no, we don't have a P&O cruise about to depart. That horn is indicating to the riders that the course is now closed, and they are to make their way back to the marshalling yard and begin to get ready for the pending competition. And Kate, if you thought the last class was big, have a look at those fences out there now. They have gone up in height, out in width, and this is the Group A Section 1 competition. This is the biggest of the big, $1.50 to $1.60 that course.
And that's close to an Olympic class.
At Olympic level, that's what you jump, $1.50 to $1.60. So we are seeing an international standard here.
So what kind of horses will be up in this next contest?
A lot of these horses have won World Cup qualifiers here in Australia, or they've been in Europe competing, and they are the best horses in the country. In fact, that man you see on the screen at the moment, that rider talking to our ringmaster, Mr. John Bennett, is Jamie Kermond. And Kermo has been in Europe, where he represented Australia at the Nations Cup final, and he was our reserve for the Rio Olympics, and he is the current Australian show jumping champion. So we have some of the highest regarded riders in the country to date.
And it was interesting when we heard Chris Chugg, who just won that previous jumping competition, mentioning the next Olympics, that he's already starting to look ahead and setting up the horses. So what will our top riders be thinking as far as qualification? What needs to happen between now and the Games?
Oh, a lot needs to happen. Of course, we are dealing in equestrian with two hearts. So you've got to make sure you have your horse fit and healthy, and you also need to make sure that you have your yourself fit and healthy. And performance-wise, you'd really want to be jumping good quality classes here at the major show in Australia, the Sydney Royal Easter Show, placing in its 2017, so we're still 3 years out. 2018, you'd want to be trying to lead our World Cup series, and in 2019, you'd be heading to Europe in the early part of 2019 or mid part of 2019 to gain enough international time to qualify our team for the Japanese Olympics in 2020, and then you'd also be looking to make sure that you have got enough horsepower behind you that if your horse injures yourself, you have a second horse in the string of horses. So there's a lot to happen between now and then, but this year we're very fortunate. We have in this class, there are half a dozen horses that have been competing in Europe that have hopped on a plane in the last 12 months and flown back to Australia to be here for this show. And you talk about logistics of a horse, how does it fly? Well, it travels in an air stable, so it's kind of like a horse float, but it goes up. I don't know if you've ever seen the baggage rollers, and they roll along on rollers, all the different cargo rates. So on a cargo plane, they come up on a scissor lift, and it rolls into the plane, and the horse stands there in its stable for takeoff and landing. And during the flight, the grooms go down and give it a cup of tea and a biscuit, as you would on the plane, and it gives it some hay and water and tenders for it. And when they fly from Australia, they can fly out of Sydney, but when they fly back to Australia, the only quarantine station for equine is in Victoria. So they actually fly, if they're coming from London, they go London, Amsterdam, Amsterdam, Hong Kong, Hong Kong, Melbourne. And each way along the way, in fact, at Hong Kong, they have to hop off the plane and go into a transfer lounge, for want of a term, and then they come into Melbourne. It's a really interesting process. If you ever get a chance to see any of the companies that fly, the air stables are really interesting, how they work.
It's just starting to dawn on me what a big money business show jumping is, and I was more aware of the calibre in Europe and the high stakes, and the entry fees for those big competitions are huge, but then so is the prize money. But then how do our competitors go in Australia? Do we have the same kind of level of prize money available? How do you earn a living show jumping in Australia?
Well, this is an interesting question, Kate. The world of show jumping, our calibre, we have horses that are certainly of high enough standard, but we struggle in Australia because we are competing on a national stage with rugby league and cricket and rugby union and football and all these other sports. So we maybe don't get the recognition and notoriety that you would maybe see for some of our mainstream sports. So we don't have commercial dollars from TV, so no, our prize money is a lot less. The quality of horses we have here is certainly there. A lot of the prize money pays for the running costs, but unfortunately for Australia, where we really make our money is selling those horses. So Chris Chugg was at the World Cup final in 2016 on Crystalline. That horse was sold for an undisclosed figure. But let me tell you, it was in the tune of 7 figures of some number there. And that horse sold to a young lady in America, and she is now competing very well on that horse. But Chris and Gabby, it's a very hard decision when you're in Europe and you're literally scraping together to make enough money to live week in, week out, and then you get told that that horse is then actually an offer that could come home. And Gabby has come home. She's bought a property, she's setting it up, and she's bought some horses home with us. So the money really for us is in Australia is in producing the horses.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for that insight, Tim.
Well, if you've just joined us on the live stream at the Spotless Stadium, it's my name, Tim, and I've got Kate Day here with me, and we are live streaming our event here this afternoon, the Group A Section 1 competition, and we have 20 nominated horses and riders in this class.
Well, we now have quite a spectacle here in the Spotless Stadium. This is Class 762, the two-wheel business theme turnout for light, medium and heavy horses. Entries into this class must not have entered in classes 739 to 746, that's in the fine print, and the winner is not eligible for champion. But as we can see, we have some business theme turnouts in traditional period dress and looking quite spectacular. Meanwhile, we have our class 345 here as well, and that's our miniature pony stallion, 3 years and over, 79 centimetres and over in harness. And the entries in this class must be shown in a small Viceroy. So that's what we see. And a Viceroy is the small show vehicle, and that's for our little fellas there, the pony stallions, 3 years and over.
Well, as our first horse is entering the arena, and they're going to trot right around to the other side, the show jumping moving to in front of the Martin and Angus stand this afternoon. Kate, I was just saying off air, one of the challenges of this class is going to be really interesting because it's a really tough show jumping course. It's 480 metres long. It's 83-second time allowed. It's built from 1.50 metre to 1.60 metre in height.
Big jumps.
So it's big jumps over a very tough course. There's 12 efforts or 12 fences, 15 obstacles out there. And that means there are a couple of combinations. The first comes up at 6A, 6B, the second at 9AB, and then 11AB. And the other challenge is going to be that we have 3 harness classes going on around the arena as well. So not only do they need to look at all of these huge jumps that are out in front of them, they're also going to need to be aware of all the harness classes that are going on at the same time. Well, just before we start our show jumping, we do have a result, and then we will welcome our first horse rider out.
And we have pleasure in announcing the winner of Class 345, the miniature pony stallion, 3 years and over 79 centimetres in harness. And congratulations to Moo Gully Farm BR Tim. This is Valerie Dewsbury from Gunnedah with catalogue number 1377. Congratulations. And in second place, congratulations to catalogue number 1380, Valerie Dewsbury from Gunnedah yet again with Moo Gully Farm Picasa. Well, Tim, let's hope that all of our harness classes aren't too distracting for our horses and we have a great jumping competition now.
We certainly do. We're going to move straight to our second horse in the draw. It is Clem Smith. And Clem is riding Guru. And Clem is the first rider out from southeast Queensland, and Guru is the first combination to tackle this course this afternoon. And we wish Clem all the best of luck. Trying to jump around this course, as we said, designed by international course designer Mr. Werner Deeg, assisted by Mr. Mark Atkins and team. And it is a tough metre 50 competition here this afternoon. If you've joined us on the live stream, you are missing out. Really, the best seats in the house are here in the Spotless Stadium. We have had first-class show jumping and first-class competition. And you would have been here to witness a beautiful round from Chris Chugg and Ditto, who won the previous class. Clem safely through the second of the combinations, 9A, 9B. Time allowed is 83 seconds. Oh, he is well and truly through the course. A's right, One fence left to go. Comes down to the final fence. Hey, Clem Smith is safely over the last. What a round. Oh, what a round of applause he deserved there. Safely over the last. 72-30, 72-30. There is no jumping penalties, no time penalties, and that is a beautiful, clear round for Clem Smith and Guru. And what a round to kick off. Here we were saying as a degree of difficulty is very, very high. Clem made that look like a Sunday afternoon walk in the Spotless Stadium Arena. I laugh at my own jokes, it's okay.
That was a dad joke, Tim.
I'm a dad now, so I'm allowed to make dad jokes. In fact, my daughter is on her way. She'll be here very soon. I'm very excited. And Kate's even going to stay back tonight, so I get the night off. Next out into the arena, we welcome Bridget Hanson, and she is riding Toulon NZPH. I used to call this horse Toulon. Toulon. Now I can't say it without saying the Maori swan on it. And a big thank you to Juliet and Walker Hanson, who are wonderful supporters of show jumping here in Australia. They hail from Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. Their daughter Bridget, or Birdie as we all call her, is engaged to John O'Berry and is based at Penrith for most of the time. Although she does still tell me that she carries a New Zealand passport. I said to her, it won't be long and you'll be an Australian citizen and we'll claim you as our own. So she's carrying the one fence down at this stage. So with one clear round, the way this course is being judged means that we need at least one more clear round to force a jump-off competition. Our minor placings will use time in the first round to decipher the penalties or the order of placings. Penalties are incurred if a rail is knocked down. 4 jumping penalties is added to the score. And show jumping, if you've never watched it before, great time to get here. We have just started the biggest class of the day for the best group of show jumpers at the show. Safely over the last. Hey, that's a great round. And Bridget Hanson, 75-80. Just the one rail down. 4 jumping penalties, no time penalties. A total of 4. Time allowed is 83 seconds. So in this first round of jumping, if they go over the time allowed, they pick up for 1 time penalty for every 4 seconds or part thereof that they are over that time. And they are also trying to stay on that score of 0. Next out into the arena, we welcome Jamie Winning. And Jamie Winning Kermond got married in January this year. And her husband, Jamie Kermond, yes, the two Jims, have been based in Europe for the last 3 years. This is their first time in 4 shows that they have competed here at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. Jamie Winning about to commence her round as we have another result in front of the Cumberland stand.
And the result of Class 698, the non-Hackney buggy pony over 10 hands and not exceeding 14 hands. Congratulations to catalogue number 2128, the Rag and Proctor family show team from Mittagong with Glenwood Look At Me. In second place, catalogue 2059, Maureen Pengelly and Miss Kerry Buckley from Tarnee with Tahara Park Cavalier. And in third place, it's catalogue 1407, Joanne Dorman and Mr. Darren Dorman and Mr. Jesse Dorman with Westbury Van Gogh. Congratulations.
Well, that fence, it was a problem fence in the last round, has fallen again for Jamie while that result was coming through. The worst thing is that that fence is the Winning Appliances fence. Of course, Jamie Winning, her family are Winning Appliances, and they are wonderful supporters of the show here at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. All of these beautiful jumps out here are actually owned by Yandu Equestrian and Winning Appliances, and they have been lent, or I should say borrowed, by the Sydney Royal Easter Show to give us the best set of gear in the country. All these jumps that you see out here, Kate, they're actually imported from Europe. Frank Rothenberg, international course designer and show jump builder, built these jumps, and they were put in a shipping container and sent here to the arena. 12 jumping penalties, 76.03, 76.03. 12 jumping penalties, no time penalties, a total of 12 for Jamie Winning and Zarissa.
And as we've discussed before, Tim, this gear is extremely light and there is no margin at all for error. And basically you could brush by it and a slight breeze and knock them over.
So if you imagine, Kate, that horses out there, they weigh somewhere between 500 and 700 kilos. Those rails weigh no more than 14 kilos in weight. On the ends of them, they actually have plastic cups that encase the end of the pine timber that we use. And they are sitting in a plastic cup on the wings. So there is very little holding them on there. In fact, all they need to do, as you said, is brush them and they fall to the ground. Well, the runner-up Australian show jumping champion is next out into the arena. Currently, that as well. He won it in 2016 at Werribee in Victoria. It is Andrew Lamb, a dairy farmer by trade, and he is riding CP Argento. Well, on course at the moment, or just completing their round, I should say, 74.60, 74.60. The one rail down, 4 jumping penalties, no time penalties. That is our fastest 4 falter at this stage. So currently into second place for our 4 falters. Time taken, 74.60, 74.60, compared to Bridget Hanson, 75.80. And this may be similar to last class. 2 horses that potentially could have jumped clear so far there, both having 1 unlucky rail. Well, next out into the arena, we welcome number 6 in the draw. It is Stuart Jenkins, and he is riding Fairview Aliquidam. And this combination are great to see them back here competing. They last weekend, a horse actually contracted a virus. But of course, coming into a big competition like this, there are a lot of medications that you can't give, as same as our footballers or our runners in our athletics team for the Olympics. Exactly the same here. They go into medical control, and in fact we do random swabbing right throughout the show. And so he had to speak to the vets and get the special medication that was permitted, that wasn't performance enhancing, and he has recovered nicely from his virus. Fairview Aliquidam hails from southeast Queensland with Stuart Jenkins by Alamo, and his nickname around the stables is Jonty. And Jonty, when he was a young horse, was still kept as a sire, as a colt, but he was very, very, very cheeky, and it was decided that it might help his show jumping if he was maybe not distracted by being a stallion. So he was gelded, and he certainly has gone on with his show jumping. 3 fences left to go, 4 jumping efforts. 2 now, 3 efforts. Comes up to the combination. It's a big triple bar in. It's very wide. Sits back up for the very tall vertical. Comes down to the final fence. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we got a jump off. Put your hands together. Stuart Jenkins, Fairview Aliquidam. No jumping penalties, no time penalties, and all clear. And a great round from Stuart. That will put him in equal first place. So, that is our second clear round. So we are now guaranteed a jump off. And great to see this competition today. Very, very strong. Well, next out into the arena, we welcome Brooke Dobbin. And Brooke is riding Silvo. So Brooke just asked the ring crew to check a fence. They run on over, have a look. And the bell sounds. From that bell, you'll see on the big screen next to Brooke's name, there's a clock ticking down. if you watch that clock as he goes across the start line, which is about 6 metres or 5 metres away from that butterfly fence, which is fence number 1, that clock automatically starts ticking up. If you're too slow and you don't get there in the 45 seconds, well, you actually have the time start ticking automatically. The other interesting thing too, that is not a very nice looking fence, that Appliances Online wall. In fact, you might not have seen that, Kate. If you lived here in Sydney, you often saw flying in the sky a blimp. And it's been known as the Appliances Online blimp. And as they're sponsors of show jumping, they thought, what better way than to replicate what we see here in Sydney? For our out-of-towners, you might be thinking, that's a funny jump to have set up. But anyone in Sydney would remember seeing for many, many months the Appliances Online blimp travelling around Sydney. It now moved down to Melbourne. So he's our winner from our other day's competition. 2 fences left to go. Rolls onto the triple bar. He's going to have to sit up for the vertical. 1 fence left to go. Come on, Brooke Dobbin. Safely over the last. No time penalties. Clear round number 3. What a ride. Hey, we are in for a treat here this afternoon. 3 of our top riders are all clear, and we are only up to number 7 in the draw. 3 clear already. This is what we've been looking for here in the Spotless Stadium. An absolute superb class to end the 4th day of jumping and the 4th day of competition at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. Well, next out into the arena, we welcome Clint Beresford, and Clint is riding Emmaville Jitterbug. Emmaville Jitterbug, bred by Grant and Heather Hughes of Forest Park Riding School in Canberra, and Grant has been a long-time supporter of show jumping, and he and his wife and his 2 daughters have travelled around the country competing. Not here this year, but they have this horse that they bred. It's now owned by Danielle, Clint, and Jenny and Warren Beresford from Bega on the south coast of New South Wales. Clint a farrier by trade, and he is the current winner of the World Cup Series and was voted the Equestrian Australia Domestic Rider of the Year at our national awards just a couple of weeks ago. A fine young gentleman. And this combination, they've had potentially just a little bit of unluckiness at this show. They've had a rail down here or there and haven't had the show that they've had in the past. He was the leading young horse here at the Sydney Royal a few years ago. Then did an injury and spent some time with Aaron Roddy and Robin Bell in rehab before coming back. And it's amazing to see him come back not only to show jumping but to the top level. Jason's only a little horse. He's by Junebug, which was a good horse that Jeremy English rode. Comes down to the final fence. Come on, Clint. Yes, we got another clear round. 71.66. 71.66. No jumping penalties, no time penalties. And that is our 4th clear round for Emmaville Jitterbug and Clint Beresford. Well, next out into the arena, we welcome number 9 in the draw, and this is Stephen Hill, and Stephen riding Yolambi's Bellini Star. Bella, as she's known around the stables, you know, we're talking about horses that have been in Europe. Well, here is one of them, and she only landed back in Australia in September last year. And Stephen was on the short list, or the long list, I should say, for selection process or criteria for the Rio Olympics. He had done all he could do here in Australia. So he and his wife, Amanda, and their family had loaded up and headed to Europe, where they campaigned and represented Australia at Nations Cup level. And this is Stephen Hill riding Yolambi's Bellini Star. Stephen Hill now, 2 fences left to go. Is this our 5th clear round? This is unbelievable if it is. Come on, Stephen Hill, down to the final fence. It certainly is. No jumping penalties, 73-3-2 and all clear. What a turnaround today. The riders have really stepped up to the plate. No jumping penalties, no time penalties and all clear, giving us our 5th clear round. Meaning Clem Smith and Guru, Stuart Jenkins, Fairview Aliquidam, Brooke Dobbin and Silvo, Emmaville Jitterbug and Clint Beresford, and Stephen Hill and Yalambi's Bellini Star will all have to come back because they are currently sitting on the best possible score of 0 and currently on equal first place, and under the rules of the FEI rules, Article 238, 2.2, if there's an equality of faults, then we go back to the jump-off in this class. So you can see now the roller makes its way out onto the arena, and we do that in many of our competitions around the country. We are trying to give every horse an equal opportunity out there, and we want to make sure that the footing is as the riders walked it. So we have been rolling midway through the class. Halfway through with half the horses still to go. Who is going to be declared the winner? How many clear do you think we can get? All of that is to come to us very, very soon.
And now, Tim, we welcome another class, Class 346. It's the miniature pony mare, filly or gelding, 3 years and over, 79 centimetres and over in harness. And entries in this class must be shown in a small Viceroy, which is the little vehicle that we see there. And a lovely miniature ponies coming in now to be judged by Mr. Darryl Bishop. And in stark contrast, we still have judging with our heavies, and that's Class 762, the two-wheeled business theme turnout for light, medium and heavy horses. It is terrific actually to be able to see the contrast of very, very light and then quite heavy harness horses out there on the main arena at the same time. But no doubt the show jumpers are very grateful that they're not out there at the moment as we roll the course. And Tim, it does look a little bit odd having such tiny, tiny little horses there, our tiny miniature ponies there pulling someone. But of course they are incredibly strong. We underestimate how terrific these ponies are. We know in the Shetland classes that they're able to pull twice their own body weight, and the ponies doing a marvellous job now. But of course the vehicle they're pulling is very light.
I was just about to say that exact thing, that they're light and they're running on those bike tyres. So it's like a push bike. Once you get it rolling, it's actually not a lot of weight at all.
Indeed, and all of our handlers are at least under 40 kilos. So really not much of an effort for the pony at all.
So, Kate, as we watch those go around, the judge there is judging the pony as it goes. And we see down here on the other side with our heavy horse, which is another one of our turnout classes. And they're not only judging the horse and its manners and paces, but also they're judging the equipment and all the unsundry that goes with what we have here today. So it's really interesting to see the comparison here in the Spotless Stadium, the difference between our harness class where they're just judging the horse compared to the harness class where they're heavy horse where they're judging it as a turnout class.
Yes, so historical accuracy will be one of the criteria that our judge will use. Also the horse and its suitability for that particular job, as well as the harness. And we can see the attention to detail, and they're beautifully platted up, our big heavy horses here, and we see our drivers in period costume. And it doesn't necessarily have to be original, but it is certainly going to be a replica of it and quite authentic. So that our judges will have a very strong historical knowledge and be able to identify whether all of the bits and pieces on our harness there are accurate, and also test the skill of the driver as they contend with the course.
Didn't Terry Goodyear tell you how to how to restore a heavy vehicle?
Yes, well, when you find something like that in the back of the shed, in fact, we have several
really?
in the back of sheds at home. His suggestion, if you wanted to restore it, was to actually take it out and put a match to it and then start again using all of the fittings, because the fittings that in fact, an older vehicle will let you down. Unfortunately, the timber, if it's over 100 years old, might be very hard to keep in mint condition, but it can be rebuilt given the incredible skills of some of our enthusiasts. And so, you know, the attention to detail and to historical accuracy is really to be admired. And if you get a chance to get up close, perhaps if you walk around the pavilions later on this afternoon and you get to have a look at this, really you'll see, well, we're just so lucky to see it, and the fact that it's preserved. And isn't it great that Royal Shows give an opportunity for our exhibitors to dust everything off, shine it all up and bring it out to the public so we can see it.
Yeah, it is amazing, and wonderful to see a strong lineup of our two harness classes taking place here this afternoon. We can see the rolling on our show jumping arena about to be concluded, and our next horse is making their way across the Spotless Stadium, the J.K. Mackay Arena, and we will have the next horse on course very, very soon, which will be Becky Jenkins and RSB Jacana.
And we're also eagerly awaiting the results of the 2017 Land Sydney Royal Showgirl competition, and that is actually being judged outside the main arena, but we will bring you the result as soon as it comes to hand, and that won't be very long, we don't expect.
And in fact, later on this evening, if you're here at around 5:50, we're having a presentation here in the main arena. The Land Sydney Royal Showgirl presentation will be wonderful to welcome all of those young ladies into the arena and introduce them to everyone. And following on from that, we have a friend of yours, George the Farmer.
Well, in fact, anyone with children will probably be more than aware of George the Farmer. He's a great little character who teaches kids all about food and where it comes from. And he was out the other night in the main arena, and I now know where potatoes come from. I know all about it. Just ask me.
I've got a song in my head.
I know, it's very hard to get rid of the song. It's like the Wiggles songs. Once you hear them, it's very hard to get rid of them.
Well, our next horse out into the arena, we welcome Rebecca Jenkins. Becky Jenkins riding RSB Jacana. Mia, as she's known around the stables, a warm blood mare, was sent to Robbie Allen, Becky's dad, to be broken in as a dressage mare. And they saw that she had great ability as a show jumping mare, and they subsequently purchased her. The RSB stands for Robbie, Sarah, which is Becky's mum, and Becky. And there are many RSB horses going around. And Mia has followed with her rider. When Becky had Lacey, Mia had a foal who is now out competing, or being broken in, I should say. And Becky said she holds a lot of hope for Mia's foal. And also, I can tell you, a protege of Becky is that young Lacey. Very young, top young rider. She's only 3 years of age and already has a pony and rides exceptionally well. Becky was one of the youngest riders to ever win a World Cup qualifier, only surpassed by Tom McDermott, and has been one of Australia's leading show jumpers. Born and bred in Victoria, and there she saw the light and moved to southeast Queensland with her husband, and she is based at Marlburg these days, where she has been a very top show jumping instructor and also producer of many, many good horses. One rail down at the first of the combinations. Comes down to the final line. A's right. Sets up for the final fence. Safely over the last. Stops the clock. 74.98. 74.98. 8 jumping penalties. No time penalties. In fact, 4 jumping penalties. I don't know where I got the 8 from. 4 jumping penalties. No time penalties. 74.98. Well under the time allowed of 83 seconds. 4 jumping penalties. No time penalties. A total of 4. Puts one of 3 riders on 4 jumping penalties, but we have 5 clear rounds already. Would love to see a few more clear and into the jump-off round here this afternoon. Next out into the arena, we welcome the next of our competitors. And this is Nicole Brueggemann from Gawler in South Australia. And Nicole is riding Lux Like Cavalier. Lux Like Cavalier was imported to Australia from Ireland, in fact, and has been in Australia with the Brueggemann family for the last couple of years. Been a very successful show jumper. And great to welcome Lux Like Cavalier and Nicole Brueggemann. So Nicole, to feature in the placings, must jump clear. You can see how the pressure increases. In fact, all the riders down in the marshalling yard where they warm up, there's a screen down there, so they're watching intently. And they'll watch other horses go, and generally speaking, a later draw is the draw that you want.
Well, we're judging our champion and reserve champion Hackney Pony now. That's our special class 707 underneath the Cumberland stand. And a result is not far away at all in class 762, which is our two-wheel business theme turnout.
Well, 2 fences left to go for Nicole Brueggemann. Just the 1 rail down at this stage. Comes down to the final line. A's right. B's there. Another 4-fault round coming up here. Nicole Brueggemann safely over the last. Stops the clock. 76.35. 4 jumping. No time. A total of 4.
And the results of Class 762, the two-wheel business theme turnout for light, medium and heavy horses. Congratulations to catalogue number 1646, John and Sandy Hunter from Armidale with Orunga Buddy. In second place, it's catalogue number 1216, Julie Butler and Mr Greg Butler from Yular with Ellington Bray Max. And then in third place, catalogue number 2003, Heather Oxenham from Frogmore with Ben Warren Park Prestige. Congratulations there to our winner and place getters.
Thank you, Kate. Well done. Lovely horse there winning at that class. Congratulations to all the connections. As we now welcome out the next of our riders. He's had the bell. It's Jono Berry. And Jono riding Turn It Blue NZPH. Turn It Blue NZPH, another horse owned by New Zealand Performance Horses. Soon to be Jono's in-laws. He's engaged to Bridget Hanson. And Jono riding this lovely gelding. Prior to this horse coming to Australia, it had great performances in New Zealand, where it in fact won one of the World Cup qualifiers in the New Zealand League of the World Cup Series. World Cup Series is a worldwide series that has many credentials that makes it an international competition. And the winner of each nation or continent series does get to go to the World Cup final. From Australia, not necessarily something that they do every year, just because it is always held in either Europe or America in the Northern Hemisphere. So Jono has a disobedience at fence number 5. Ooh, that's very rare for that horse. Maybe a bit distracted by our champion Hackney class. And unfortunately, second refusal, incurring elimination at this level of competition. Well, next out into the arena, as we say farewell to Jono, we welcome Stephanie Tucker. Stephanie Tucker, the only lady I know brave enough to walk around the showground in a pair of Ugg boots for the last couple of days. And she has done it with class and charisma beyond anyone else. She comes from just east of Perth. And her family farm there, they actually have a winery where they produce beautiful white wines. And Stephanie rides Oaks Redwood. And Oaks Redwood has made the long trip across the Nullarbor with her coach David Dobson. And it is great to welcome Stephanie Tucker here to Sydney. She has won World Cup qualifiers in Western Australia. She came to New South Wales about 3 or maybe 4 years ago and jumped in the Group A Section 3 for young horses. And a big step up for horses to come here and jump in the open section. As we welcome out into the arena, Stephanie Tucker, Oaks Redwood. So she picks up the disobedience for the refusal at the Appliances Online fence. She comes back around and Oaks Redwood says, "Mum, you have to be kidding yourself. It's a blimp with a blue wall on the top of it. And there is no way I am jumping that today." So again, a second refusal, incurring elimination from the competition. So you'll see Stephanie come back around, and before leaving the arena, it was well within the rules that they are allowed to jump one more fence. And so Stephanie jumps the butterfly fence, and that is to restore confidence for both horse and rider. And just say, tomorrow's another day, and he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. And I'm sure they'll be back bigger and better in the next of the competitions. Well, next out into the arena, we welcome Billy Raymond. And Billy is riding number 16 in the draw in Anton. Billy and his fiancée, Ali Berwick, are based at Koroy on the Sunshine Coast. And we'll see a lot more of Ali next week when the show horse classes are on. And we welcome Billy Raymond. This horse nominated by Michelle and Tim Clark and also Mrs. Bryce from Malala in South Australia. And Anton has been runner-up in the World Cup Series in 2016. He won the World Cup qualifier at Equitana indoors in a very big crowd under a very exciting jump-off conditions. And if he can jump clear, he's certainly one to keep an eye on. This horse really does cover the ground. We don't want to put the commentator curse on him. And that is the sport of show jumping. Unfortunately, a rail down at the B element of the Oxer, the A element, I should say, coming into the first of the combinations, which is a spread fence to a vertical. The second combination is a vertical to a spread fence. We then have a final combination of a triple bar. 2 non-jumping strides to a big tall vertical. Triple bar is the big ski jump, or the really wide fence, the widest fence on the course, in fact. Well, final fence falls to the ground in 8 jumping penalties. No time penalties, a total of 8, 71.66. And who needs enemies when you've got friends like Letitia Langbeck Billy Raymond. In fact, he was at Grand National last night riding in the small hack competition, so showing his diversity. Show jumping rider one day, show horse rider the next. So good to see Billy came back in to compete here at the Sydney Royal Easter Show today on his lovely horse Anton. Well, another horse that's been based in Europe for the last 2 years, it is Casco and Jessica Brown, just based at Culnura on the central coast of New South Wales. And Casco is an imported warm blood gelding. He was imported to Australia as a young horse, has come up through the grades and represented Australia at Nations Cup level in Europe. In fact, at the Nations Cup final in Barcelona, where she had a nail-biting finish in a very tough competition and really proved herself as an international rider. Subsequently, Casco then had a couple of little niggling injuries, and they decided rather than trying to keep him over there, they'd bring him back to Australia where he could make a full recovery, and he certainly has done just that. And it is great to welcome Jess Brown into our spotless stadium. Well, comes down to the final fence, safely over the last. The 2 rails down, 8 jumping penalties at 74.65. 74.65, 8 jumping penalties. No time penalties, a total of 8 for Casco and Jess Brown. Well, that is the final horse to go in this first round of competition. So, we have a couple of horses that aren't starting this afternoon. They will be starting in the EFA Cup, or the EA Cup I should call it these days, which is the big one tomorrow, and they're potentially just saving their horse. But that doesn't matter because we have 5 clear rounds, 5 horses coming back for the jump-off round. The jump-off course will be fences 7, 8, 9A, 9B, 11A, 4, 5 and 6. So we started a new fence, fence number 7, which is the vertical on the far side of the arena, closest to the Martin Angus stand. We go 7, 8, 9A. So that is the similar to what we did in the last round, 7, 8, and then roll on down to 9A, which is the first of the flower fences. From there, we then go 9A, 9B, and then 11A, 4, 5, and 6B. So it's a little bit of an interesting course, plenty of options for our riders. The winner of the class will be the horse-rider combination with the least number of penalties and the quickest time in the jump-off. In the jump-off, the order will be Clem Smith and Guru first out, Stuart Jenkins, Fairview, Aliquid Arms second, Brooke Dobbin and Silvo third, Clint Beresford, Emmaville Jitterbug fourth, and Stephen Hill, Ulambi's Bellini Star, will be final horse out into the arena. And this is certainly going to be an exciting jump-off. You can see our ring crew making the changes. And Kate, there's also some exciting classes on the arena as well at this same time.
Yes, indeed, and I'm watching with keen interest the champion class here for our Hackney ponies. So the winners of our previous Hackney classes today have now come into the main arena to face off for champion. It's an extremely strong field, and they are competing for the TJ Dwyer Memorial Perpetual Trophy, among other things. And this is a trophy that has been dominated in the last, well, in fact, since the early 90s by one particular group, and it'll be interesting to see whether that continues on. And we won't give too much away, but we do have some very strong contenders in this particular class and a very high level of competition. So lovely to see our Hackney ponies out here, and of course it is the pony itself being judged in this class and its suitability to be a flashy and attractive, flamboyant, elegant ride. So we've seen other ponies out there today, and in fact we have our miniature ponies right now in our class 3, 4, 6. And they are the mares, fillies or geldings 3 years and over, 79 centimetres and over in harness.
Well, while we wait for the jump-off, some exciting results coming through from this showgirl competition. The second runner-up from was Isabel's.
Well, she's a lovely girl. We met her earlier today. She's a Rural Fire Service volunteer. She's also an agronomist, and we've enjoyed meeting all of our showgirls, and as you say, we'll have another chance to meet them. But congratulations to Maisie Morrow from Merriwa, who is our new showgirl, and a lovely couple of runs up there to Emma Gorman from Wagga Wagga, who has been studying medicine, and she has been coming to Sydney Royal all of her life, and now she's a runner-up showgirl. So that's very exciting news, and we're looking forward to seeing the girls later on. Well, Tim, we have vehicles circling everywhere.
And they're all champions.
They're all doing circle work, and we have our champions here in the business turnout classes, and I'm really looking forward to this. This is the champion and reserve champion single horse business turnout. We have our baker out there, the hay supplies.
Do you know what this reminds me of, looking at this? This reminds me of potentially what a busy street would have looked like, with all the different types of vehicles going around. The long shaft brake, as we said.
Well, it could be the car park of a bachelor and spinster's ball in 1898. do you think?
Did they have a B&S ball?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure they did have some good party. And now our single horse business turnout are competing for the Ware Memorial Perpetual Trophy, which is donated by the Ware family for the champion single horse business turnout. And we've also got coming up, and not too far away either, the Best Miniature Pony in Harness. So 3 very big classes to come, and very important decisions that, of course, have huge and lasting ramifications. And our champions go into the history books here at the Sydney Royal Easter Show, and they hold their place in posterity. So it's very exciting.
So I'm just getting this. We've got the butcher's cart that we can see on the big screen. We've got, it's just disappeared, of course, as I say that. We've got our quality meats, we've got our hay cart, we've got our long shaft brake, and then we've got the farm wagon as well. So isn't it a contrary? Because then over here we talk about our Hackney, and I always say that we see now on the big screen, these are like our Jaguars or Rolls Royces. These were the real pinnacle of sports cars of their day.
European cars, yes.
And that high-stepping action actually ensured that as you went along, they gave you the smoothest possible ride. So that was the idea, and that's why we selectively bred horses that gave that high-stepping knee action, because that gave the steadiest, or stop that jolting movement that you get from a horse that's just pulling in its collar as it goes along.
And the breed was known to have great stamina trotting at a very brisk pace over a long distance, because of course we're talking about an era with no cars at all, and people would travel 30 kilometres maybe from town to town, and would want to be able to get there as quickly as possible. And the Hackney had the stamina as a breed to do that, and this high stepping action is partially breeding and also part training as well.
It always is lovely to see those beautiful high-stepping Hackney ponies and horses that we see out here in the arena. Well, the first of our horses is making its way across for the jump-off very, very soon. And at the jump-off course, once again, we go 7, 8, 9A, 9B, 11A. 4, 5 and finish over 6B. The length of the second round is 360 metres. Time allowed 62 seconds. If you exceed the time allowed, then you get 1 time penalty for every 1 second or part thereof that you are over the time allowed. So we've seen time penalties prove to be very costly in jump-off rounds this far at the show. As we welcome the first of our 5 jump-off horses into the arena, it will be Clem Smith, and Clem is riding Guru. Well, the bell sounds, so he has 45 seconds in which to commence his round. And in doing so, he needs to get to that new first fence, which is down the bottom end or closest to the Martin and Angus stand. Bottom from where we are, I suppose you'd say. If you're sitting in the Martin and Angus stand, you'd say it's right here in front of us, Tim. And he comes down to the start line. And he's over the first. So he's against the clock, because now not only are we looking at penalties, we're also looking at time. So he really wants to put a good, clear round on the board. That would be the best possible result. A quick, clear round on the board. Now a horse cannot jump out of a flat gallop. So these riders are going to try and take the shortest possible turns to the fences. And look at that. Gave that horse maybe 1.5, 2 strides in front of that triple bar before it actually had to jump it. Bowls on up to the wall. Has to be so careful to jump that cleanly. Those boxes on top weigh next to nothing, as light as a feather. Over fence number 5. 1 fence left to go. It's a long run down to the final fence. Clem Smith, he's up, he's over. Put your hands together. What a way to start the jump off. 44.87. No jumping penalties, no time penalties, and a clear round. 44.87 and all clear. So that means he has taken the pressure from his shoulders. He unloads it straight away up onto the other 4 riders and says, you know what? Catch me if you can. 44.87 to take the lead. Now, you must jump clear. You must jump quicker than that time. 44.87. And Clem Smith gives Guru a big pat on the neck and says, good boy. Leanne Brueggemann, it's a little bit more excited out there in the grandstand as a co-owner of Guru. as we bring the excitement level back here in the Spotless Stadium, and we welcome the second of our competitors out. And this is Stuart Jenkins. Stuart riding Fairview Aliquidam. And Fairview Aliquidam jumped a beautiful clear round. Can be very quick against the clock, but now what happens is, if you can imagine, there is one clear round. So the pressure is that much more on your shoulders to try and do a clear round. So Clem has come out and he has done exactly what he needed to do, was put a really quick round on the board. Try and force the hand of our other riders to take a risk that they maybe would not consider otherwise. So Clem came inside fence number 10, as does Stuart, round the back of the butterfly. Oh, gets in trouble at the triple bar. So carrying 4 jumping penalties. Two fences left to go. Comes down to the final line. Safely over 5. Down to the final fence. Can't take the lead. Rolls on down to the final fence. Carrying 4. Safely over the last. 4 jumping penalties. 47-1-3. 47-1-3. With a total of 4. Next into the arena will be Brooke Dobbin and Silvo. But right now we have a presentation to come.
Well, Tim, it's with great pleasure that we announce the results of Class 707 Champion and Reserve Champion Hackney Pony. And the 2017 Sydney Royal Horse Show winner is catalogue number 1299, the late Mr Vince Corvey and Miss Margaret Beggs and Mr Terry Cowan from Ellenbar in Queensland with Woodhurst the Count. What an extraordinary run this team and its connections have had. In fact, this horse won in 2016, in 2015 and in 2014, and the late Mr Vince Corvey has been associated with this event, would you believe, since 1980. So an extraordinary result, and congratulations.
Another result.
And we can announce now our reserve champion, and that is catalogue number 1055, Robin Anderson and Mr Andrew James from Stanhope in Victoria with Reigate Revelation. Congratulations.
Brooke Dobbin on course at the moment, carrying 4 jumping penalties on Silvo, as we cross back to Kate Day for another result.
And this is the result of Class 346, the miniature pony mare filly or gelding, 3 years and over, 79 centimetres and over. And we congratulate in first place Thelma Nichols with Chanjara the Magician. In second place, it's catalogue number 1376, Valerie Dewsbury from Gunnedah with Kalina Park Charlie. In third place, catalogue 1382, Valerie Dewsbury from Gunnedah on Moogully Farm Seth. In fourth place, catalogue 1378, Valerie Dewsbury from Gunnedah again with Moogully Farm Caspio. And in fifth place, catalogue 2395, Joan Walsh from Dean Park on with Wanamara Katrina.
Well, the one rail down for Silvo and Brooke Dobbin, 49-4, 4 jumping penalties, no time penalties, a total of 4. 2 horses and riders left to go in this final jumping competition on day number 4 at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. And we welcome out Clint Beresford riding Emmaville Jitterbug. To take the lead, he must jump clear. He must jump quicker than Clem Smith and Guru's time of 44.87. We haven't seen a time clicker as of yet. All right, here we go. Clint is underway. Jason, as he's known around the stables, he's a fiery gelding. And not going to fire today, though. Rail down. He just rolled on down to that Oxa. This is what I said. Clem Smith did everything right. He just left everything up, and he is asking these riders to take pressure and really take risks. Turns up nicely to the triple bar, carrying 4 jumping penalties at this stage. To be in second, he must be quicker than 47.13. Can't take any rails down, or any further rails down, I should say. 1 fence left to go. Emmerville Jitterbug. Clint Beresford. Safely over the last. 47.07. That'll put him into second place. 47.07 the time. 4 jumping penalties, no time penalties. A total of 4. And we'll put him into second place at this stage of the competition.
And Tim, we have the victory lap now for our winner of champion Hackney Pony, Woodhurst the Count, and the nomination of the late Mr. Vince Corvey and Miss Margaret Beggs and Mr. Terry Cowan. It's a terrific achievement, and we thank Ms. Gail Dwyer-Gerard and Ms. Harriet Gerard for presenting the Perpetual Trophy, the TJ Dwyer Memorial for our champion Hackney Pony in harness.
Great to see Terry driving there. Beautiful to see him making the trip down with Margaret and the team to continue on with Vince and his legacy. As we welcome out our final horse rider combination in this jumping competition, it is Stephen Hill riding Yalambi's Bellini Star. A very talented horse and rider. Can they do it? Can they beat Clem Smith and Ruin? Here's Sunday afternoon here at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. I don't think Ruin's probably a bit of an over-exaggeration, Tim, but take away from the glory that Clem is basking in at the moment. He must jump clear. He's not going to do it. Rail down. Clem Smith's grin just grows a little bit bigger. Charlene Smith does a few more cartwheels, and they know that they have won the class. So, he now needs to be quicker than 47.07 to play for the runner-up, the bridesmaids' position here today. Comes round to the final line. 2 fences left to go. Can't afford a rail down. Oh, unfortunately, the pressure's got to Stephen this afternoon. He comes down to the final fence, carrying 8 jumping penalties safely over the last. Time was good enough, 45.94, 45.94, but 8 jumping penalties, no time penalties. A total of 8 will relegate him to 5th place in the competition. And we'll get the official word from our judge, Mr. Ho Na Yu. And congratulations, however, to the winner. Pretty clear to see Clem Smith and Guru is the winner as our only double clear round here this afternoon.
So now we've moved on to class 347, our special class 347, the best miniature pony in harness, and it's for all first place winners in those earlier classes that we saw for our miniature ponies in harness. And meanwhile, we're still working through our champion workouts to decide the champion and reserve champion single horse business turnout for the Ware Memorial Perpetual Trophy, which was donated by the Ware family for the champion single horse business turnout. And the presentation for our jumping contest is about to happen on the other side of the ground in front of the Sinclair stand. And Tim Dreverman is heading down there now for the presentation. And for the winner, there's a wonderful prize, but also for the owner of the winning horse in this class, we have the Jim Barnes Memorial Perpetual Trophy. And that's to be presented by Dr. Jamie Barnes.
So, Kate, you mentioned about the Jim Barnes Memorial Perpetual Trophy. It's an 18th century silver cuffling cup, hallmarked in London in 1771 and donated by the family and friends of the late Jim Barnes, who received an AM in an Order of Australia in 1991 for services to show jumping and horsemanship. And James, or as he was commonly known, Jim Barnes, was an RAS councillor from 1951 to 1967, the RAS Vice President from 1967 to 1988, and the RAS Honorary Vice President from 1988 to 2003. And as Kate said before, this is awarded to the owner of the winning horse in this class, Class 858, a jumping contest for Group A, Section 1 horses. And we'll now invite our judge, Mr. Ho Na Yu, to make the presentation. If we could just have the short fanfare. And the fanfare sounds. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together from Gatton in southeast Queensland to Clem Smith riding Guru, the only horse to jump double clear here this afternoon. And our judge will put the winning ribbon, the blue ribbon, onto the horse. So Jim Barnes' son, Dr. Jamie Barnes, makes the presentation of the purple ribbon, which is awarded for the Perpetual Trophy. And in fact, if we look back in history, in 2016, Vicky Roycroft and Congo Z won this horse. Sam Buchanan and Diamond B Vixen won it in 2015. Billy Raymond and Stardom in 2014. And the McDermott family and Carol Mason with Rolex in 2013. So a wonderful lineup of some of Australia's best show jumpers. It was awarded in 2006 for the first time, and it was awarded by won by Rod Brown and GNC Chapman with Mr. Burns, who was one of Australia's leading horses for many, many years. Second place in the class, congratulations to Clint Beresford and Emmaville Jitterbug in second place. Third place to Stuart Jenkins and Fairview Aliquidam. Fourth place to Brooke Dobbin and Silvo, had a win here the other day in the lineup here this afternoon in fourth place. And fifth place going to Stephen Hill and Yolambi's Bellini Star. But the man of the moment, the winner, he's one of the gentlemen of the sport of show jumping. It is great to welcome him here to the Spotless Stadium with Leanne Brueggemann's nomination and your nomination, Guru. Clem Smith, the only double clear. The horse looked sensational. Congratulations on a great win.
Yeah, no, thanks, Tim. Yeah, no, she's been a bit of a hard old haul here, this show. We haven't had too much in our favour, but yeah, no, he jumped really good, and I'd just like to congratulate all the other competitors. Great class, and yeah, thank you very much. I'd just like to thank the Boogerman family for giving me the opportunity to have this horse. It's been absolute fantastic to me the whole way through his career, and just like to thank Charlene and Liz and that back to the stables for all their help, and Jess, thank you very much.
Don't think just because you thank them all I'm going to stop asking you questions. Clem, this horse, he was sent to you by Leanne Brueggemann. He was a bit of a problem child and they were having a few issues with him, and he was actually sent to you to be sold, but you actually fell in love with him, didn't you? And he's been a super horse, runner-up Australian show jumping champion, top Grand Prix horse. He's won in so many classes and he really has been a trier.
Yeah, no, he's certainly got some issues a lot of people don't know about. Like a lot of the shows we've got a blindfold in to put him in the stable. He's claustrophobic, so he is a little bit trying sometimes. He has been told quite a few times, it's lucky you can jump, but at the end of the day, he comes through and he gives us a lot of joy.
Well, we certainly had a lot of joy of watching you jump here today. A great win here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please join with me in congratulating the winner of the Jim Barnes Memorial Perpetual Trophy and the winner of class number 858, the Group A Section 1. Ladies and gentlemen, Clem Smith and Leanne Brueggemann's nomination of Guru. Of course, our other riders there, congratulations to Clint Beresford, Stuart Jenkins, Brooke Dobbin and Stephen Hill, our top 5.